יומן לא חי בלי רבי נחמן.
ספר Omer. It says in the Torah, "Usfartam lachem mimachalata Shabbat, miyom haviachem bet Omer hatunufa sheva Shabbatot mimot tihyena." You should count for yourselves 7 weeks, following what? Following the bringing of the Korban Omer. What was the Korban Omer? It was a Korban of barley. They would go and they would tie it up on the day before Pesach, on the morning of the 14th of Nisan. On the night of the 16th of Nisan, they would go and they would cut it. They would, the whole night they would take to process it, to turn it into flour. They would put it through the sifter 13 different times, and then they would take a portion of it. Don't remember how much it was. It was a small amount, not terribly great. And they would bring it as a korban the next day. After the Korban Musaf, they would go and bring it into the incense altar, and the Kohen would take a handful and he would put it on the incense altar, and that was it. That was the Korban Omer. And that's one of the meanings of Omer. Another meaning for the Omer is the 7-week period that we have between Pesach, the beginning of Pesach, and Shavuot. So it says Shiv'ah Shavuot Yispor Lach. So this is the second mitzvah. This is the mitzvah, the other mitzvah of Omer, that 7 weeks shall count. From the time that the sickle hits the standing grain, which is talking about the Korban of the Omer on the 16th night, you can go ahead and start counting 7 weeks. And that night they would count the Omer, and they would go and they would, take the barley and they would cut it down. That's how it worked. So we have 49 days. The beginning night is Pesach, the first night of Pesach, and the end is Shavuot. And the Ramban in Pashat Vayikra, he says like this, in Sefer Vayikra he says as follows, he says that these 49 days of counting that we have is just like Chol HaMoed, meaning that the first night of Pesach is the beginning of Moed, and the last night of Pesach, the last night is Shavuot. All the intervening days, the 49 days, it's a Chol HaMoed. So what is a person supposed to do on Chol HaMoed? Generally, what it says in the Gemara is that the days of Chol HaMoed were given to us for learning Torah. So one of the things that we can get from this is that this is a period of learning Torah. It's a quasi-festival. It's the time that's sort of intermediate between Chol and Chodesh. Fine. So that's according to the Ramban. A little bit of a recap of what we talked about last week with regards to Iyar. What does it say about Iyar? We say that the letter of the month of Iyar was Vav. Vav is a link. What does it link? It links between Pesach, which is in Nisan, and it links to Sivan, which is when Shavuot takes place. So the link is the month of Iyar. These 3 months, the month of Nisan, Iyar, and Sivan, they're all linked. There's something that has to do with that brings them together, and that happens to be Iyar. And what happens during the whole month of Iyar? You have Sefer Omer. And only in these 3 months are referred to in the Torah as being Chodesh Rishon, Sheni, and Shalishi, the first, second, and third months that they'd left from Egypt. And the mazal for the month of Iyar is what? Shor. Shor is what? Shor is the one that he has to, an ox or a bull always has an ol on him. He always has, what do they call it in English? A yoke on his back, and he's always threshing the floor, and that's what we have to do. We have to thresh the floor. What is the floor that we need to thresh? The threshing floor, that's ourselves. We have to fix ourselves. We have to take the ground and we have to turn it over. We have to look inside ourselves and see what's good, what's bad inside of us, and we have to fix all of that. So Iyar, the whole month of Iyar, is the time of looking into yourself and working on self-improvement. The Ben Ish Chai brings in Yidei Hayim. He says something very interesting about the Omer. He says as follows. We know that Haman, he came, the decree was made when on the 13th of Nisan. On the 14th, 15th, and 16th of Nisan, No, when it was made, meaning the king signed it and put out the letter. It was supposed to happen when? It was supposed to happen in Adar. but when it actually came out was in was in Nisan. So as soon as they found out, the Jews of Shushan, before it got out to all the other places, they started a fast. The 14th, 15th, and 16th of Nisan, they were all fasting. And on the 16th of Nisan, Haman is taking a stroll. This is after, he went to the palace of the king during the night, and the king could not sleep. And the king took out the Sefer Zichronot, and they read for him. The Sefer read for the king that Mordechai was not paid back for the favor that he did for the king. And he told Haman, you go and you do this guy a favor. And Haman, he hates Mordechai, but he has to go and he has to serve him the next day. He has to go put the royal clothing on him and take him and put him on the royal horse, take him throughout the city, and say, Kacha yaseh le'ish asher hameles hafes biqaro. This is what we do to the person that the king hafes biqaro. He desires his value. So now, Haman, this day that he's coming to take Mordechai, he comes to where? He comes to the Beit Midrash. That's where the Mordechai is the whole time. And he sees that Mordechai is sitting down with Hachamim and is learning. Mordechai looks back and sees, oh my gosh, here's Haman, he's here to chop my head off. He tells the Hachamim, so, go and leave here. Leave me alone, he's coming to kill me. I don't want him to kill you guys while he's killing me. Get out of here. And they tell him, no. Whatever is going to happen to our teacher is going to happen to us. He was a Rosh Sanhedrin at the time. Therefore, they said, whatever is going to happen to you is going to happen to us. We're not going to leave you. So he says, okay, if I'm going to die, I might as well die praying. So he gets up and he starts praying. He's hoping that, if Haman is going to kill him, he's going to chop his head off while he's praying. So Haman says, I can't chop the guy's head off. He sits down and he says, so what are you guys learning? Tell me what you're learning. Tell me what you guys are learning. They tell him, we're learning about the Omer. He says, what is this Omer? Is it made out of gold? Is it made out of silver? And they tell him, it's not made out of either of these things. It's made out of barley. He says, barley. How much barley is it? Is it like, a few tons of barley? They tell him, no, it's just a few kilograms of barley. That's it. And he says, your barley came and it overcame all of my, all of the gold and silver, all of silver that I gave to Ahashverosh to destroy you. So the question is, how does he know this? So the Ben Ish Hai explains, it says that he didn't know it himself. It's that his malach, each person, he has a malach that's above, his neshama that was above, his neshama understood it. And what did his neshama understand? The Ben Ish Hai brings as follows. It says in Yeshaya, where is the pasuk? Sorry, I lost the pasuk. Oh, it's Keter Malchut. Wrong place. Wrong sefer, sorry. Get to the right sefer. Alright. It says as follows. ויאכלו מעבור הארץ ממחרת הפסח מצות בגלוי בעצם היום הזה וישפוט המן ממחרת. When the Jews entered Eretz Yisrael, what happened over there? Sefer Yoshua, not Yeshaya. It says over there that as the Jews entered into Eretz Yisrael, the day after Pesach, they started eating matzot. Why? Because it was Pesach, right? The second day, they started eating matzot. And the man stopped coming. So as soon as the man stopped coming, they started eating matzot, because it was Pesach. And from this he understood. What did he understand? It says, Vayishpot Haman mimachorat, that the man stopped falling on the second day of Pesach. What day was Haman in front of Mordechai? Second day of Pesach. So his malach understood Vayishpot, not Haman, the man that was falling. No, Haman. Haman was stopped on the second day of Pesach, and he knew that was his fall. His fall was coming, and he knew that he was completely defeated from there. That's what the Ben Ish Hai brings with regards to the connection of Pesach and Haman and Man. So from what do we learn? What do we gain from this? One of the things that we gain is that there is a koach with the Omer to come and destroy Amalek. What is Amalek? It's all the doubts that we have inside. Are we going to succeed? Are we not going to succeed? Is life going to go better? Is life not going to get better? What's going to be? Whether it's Parnasa, whether it's Shidduchim, whether it's Shalom Bayit, whether it's health, whether all of these other things. That in life we don't know if we're going to be able to, overcome, whether it's spirituality, that we don't know if we're going to be able to overcome the difficulties that we have. So many people have addictions. So many people have who knows what. All of these are difficult things. It's that doubt. It says no. If a person works on himself during this month, the time of the Omer, starting on the second day of Pesach, which is when the month stopped coming, when we started eating matzot, and Haman fell on that day, Amalek fell, so we can also make Amalek fall throughout the days of the Omer. That's one of the things that we can learn from this. Ben Shai also brings in the same Sefer Yedei Hayim. It says over there that the Omer is Gematria Qeri. Qeri means seminal emissions. That the time of the Omer is a time for cleansing this sin more than any other sin. So all of these sort of fit in together. The Pri Tzaddik brings with regards to all of this. He says as follows. ואז בא זיו של ישראל משיבוד מצרים ימי הספירה לטהרנו מקליפותינו ומטומאותינו ובו קדושת האבות שהם גם כן אור הראשון. So he says like this. He says that during the month of Iyar, the radiance comes down, and the Jews, they're coming out of Egypt already, they're in the middle of the desert, and they've already started the days of the Sefirah. And what does the day of the Sefirah do? It comes to cleanse them from all the Ghalipot, all of the negative forces that are attached to them, and all the tum'ah of the Avodah Zarah that they had in Egypt. And what is Avodah Zarah? Avodah Zarah is any denial of Hashem. That's exactly what Amalek is. That's the denial of Hashem. When a person doubts, can I do it, can I not do it, he's doubting Hashem. Rabbi Nachman brings very clearly, he says that a person has to believe in himself. When a person doesn't believe in himself, it's not that he's not believing in himself only, he's not believing in Hashem. Because if he truly believes in Hashem, if he has true emunah in Hashem, that no matter where he is, he says, well, maybe I'm not worthy. Who says? Maybe Hashem can make you worthy. If you truly believe in Hashem, don't ever say that you don't have enough zechuyot. You need to believe in yourself. Regardless, when you do believe in yourself, Hashem is going to bring it for you, bring you, towards the end that you want to get to. So the Pri Tzaddik brings in the name of the Arizal. שבליל פסח נתגלה אור רג נעלם, ואחר כך בימי הספירה מתבררים להיות מזוקק שבעתיים. It says that there is a certain light that comes down hidden on the first night of Pesach, and then it goes away. And then afterwards, throughout the days of the Sefirah, little by little, we're going and sifting through this, and we're able to take the same light, and 70 times, through the 7 weeks, we're able to magnify it 70 times until we get to Shavuot. So these days of Omer is a time of magnification, day by week, day by day, week by week. As we go through the Sefirah to Omer, we're cleansing. We're bringing Hashem's light down, and every day we're increasing and increasing through the reading of the Sefirah, the counting of the Sefirah. And the counting of the Sefirah, as we mentioned last week, we're not allowed to have any sort of Kabbalistic intentions, not that most people do, but some people do, during the days of the Omer. But when you can have these intentions is what? During the Sefirah to Omer. You can have all the, I don't know if there are, I haven't seen it myself, but if there are works that go through all of these Kabbalistic intentions, you can go through them. So what people do is they go through the L'Shem Yehud of the Ben Ish Chai, or there's different ones, different customs for the Moroccans and all the other ones. They say the whole L'Shem Yehud, it might take 5-10 minutes, but this helps cleanse a person's soul through the saying of the Omer. In the end, Bezrat Hashem will go through some of those segulot that I learned from Rabbi Yonatan Eli. It says, Chodesh Zeh Mesugal Le'Tshuva. This is the Pri Tzaddik again. There's segula during the month of Iyar that a person can do teshuvah. V'katuv remez sha'olam mahzirim oto lizman refuah. That the world knows that the month of Iyar is a time for refuah. Ni Hashem rofecha ve'garhu refuat hanefesh. But you should understand, it's not just the physical refuah that we're getting. It's really a refuat hanefesh. It's the soul that's being healed. Uve'emet yesh remez b'Gemara, and it says. In the Gemara, it brings as follows, and it's a Gemara in Shabbat, Daf Kuf Mem Zayin, Kulhu Shakinhu Okay, so whoever comes and takes medicine from the time of Pesach until Shavuot, he's going to go ahead and get healed. What kind of medicine are we talking about? The medicine for the soul. So anybody who comes to tries to heal himself during these days, he will be healed. And it's a segula that if a person is able to keep himself from doing avarot during this period, then the rest of the year is going to come easy. And the ikar, the main part, is the refuat nefesh, that we come and take away the ghalipot. That's from the Pri Tzadiq. So, continues the Zohar and brings as follows. Very interesting Zohar. It says, Rabbi Abahu and Rabbi Hiya, hayu holchim b'derech. Yeah, Rabbi Abba and Rabbi Hiya, they were going along the way. I think it was Rav Abba who actually wrote down most of the Zohar. He was one of the 10 Talmidim of Rabbi Shimon, and he was able to put all of it into, writing, not just writing, but he was able to hide all the secrets in the language. Amar Rabbi Hiya, Katuv, Usfartem lachem b'macharat Shabbat miyom haviachem et Omer hatenufa. That you shall go and start counting from the second day of Pesach, from the time that you bring the Omer to Tenufa. That's the pasuk we read in the beginning. Ma pirusho, it says, what's the pirush of this? What does it mean? Amar lo, kavar midu hahaverim. So it says that the Havrim is talking about the 10 students that the Rashti had. The Rashti, he had an asara of people sitting down and learning Torah. And he says, Havrim, he's talking about these students that he had, these 10, this group of 10. Avalta hazi. He says, but come and see. Yisrael kushav b'Mitzrayim hayu b'rishut aher. When the Jews were in Egypt, they were in the realm of someone else, of something else. Vayu ahozim betum'ah. What was this realm? It was a realm of tum'ah. Tum'ah was what we mentioned before, is avodah zarah. Keisha zo kishe yoshevet bimei tum'ah shela. Like a woman who sits in the days of her tum'ah, that she has bleeding, that she's not able to, she doesn't have tahora. Ahar shenimolu nichnasu behelech hachodesh. When they finally did Brit Milah, what day did they do? What night did they do? What night did they do Brit Milah? It was on the night of Pesach, the 15th of Nisan. Moshe made kabab with the Korban Pesach, and all the Jews came and said, wow, Moshe, let us have some. He says, nothing to it. You can't have it unless you're mahud. Only people who have Brit Milah can eat Korban Pesach. Moshe, we're going to do it. And everyone did Brit Milah that night. They had a whole mountain made out of Brit Milah, and that was the night they did it. So once they did this Brit Milah, we see the connection between Brit Milah. Remember, we said that the Omer has to do with Gheri, the Tikkun of Gheri, and it all has to do with Berit. They came into the side of holiness. Shenichra Berit. So the Malchut. Once they were able to attach themselves to the Brit, the Tum'ah left them. Like what? Like a woman who stops having a flow of blood. And after it, she stops having the flow of blood. What is it written? And she's going to go ahead and start counting 7 days. Afkan, the same way. Kevan sheba'u behelach hachodesh. Once they came into the chodesh, nifsachah tumah mehem va'amar hachodesh baruch hu mikan ulahal'a heshbon latahara. You guys have to start counting 7. Woman has shiv'a ne'riyim, and we also have shiv'a ne'riyim, but ours is in weeks and not in days. 7 weeks we have of counting for tahora. So there's a connection between us counting Sefirah and attaining tahara according to the Zohar Kadosh. Zohar continues and says it like this: Usfartem lachem. Lachem hu bidyuk means you have to count for yourselves specifically. K'moshe amar usfaralach shiv'at yamim. Just like it says that a woman needs to go ahead and count for herself 7 days. Le'atzma, she has to count for herself. Afkan lachem, and here too you have to count for yourself. V'lamazen, why is this? Hu kidei letaher b'mei elyonim hagadoshim. Dahainu, Beha'ara habina ad yedei al yedei sefirat ha'omer. So it says that Bina, which is one of the three higher sefirot, you're able to go ahead and, I guess, attach the light through the counting of the Sefirat Omer. We know that we have 10 Sefirot. And if you look at the Kavanot in the Sephardi Sidurim, it brings that we go through one Sefirah each week and one Sefirah each day. So the Sefirah for the weeks, I mean, it goes, where we go through Hesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Hesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Nesach, Hod, Yesod, Malchut. The lower 7 Sefirot and not the higher 3 ones. The higher 3 ones we don't need to do a tikkun on, but through the Sefirah we're able to attach it to the higher 3 ones, and that's what the Zohar is saying over here. So that's another thing, that when we do the Sefirah, people think that, oh, what is this business of counting? What happens during this? Nothing happens. No, don't say that nothing happens. There's a light that comes down, and the more effort we put into it, the more we get out of it. So a person should take this time, that even though, it might seem boring and it might seem, nonsensical, heaven forbid, that he should take time with the Sefirah and have kavanah. If a person doesn't want to read through the kavanot of the Ben Ish Chai or whatever it is, at least before, take a moment or two in your mind to think to yourself that Hashem, please help me cleanse myself of my tum'ah, whatever it is, and be able to attach to a higher level of holiness through the counting of the Sefirah. However, it is supposed to be done with the Kabbalistic intentions that I don't know, you make it happen. And B'ezrat Hashem, is going to go and help whoever tries to do his will. So now we know that also the Sefirah is a time of mourning. What are we mourning? What's the whole point of mourning, and how do we mourn? The mourning that we do is what? We don't cut our hair and we don't cut our beards. No haircuts. And we don't listen to music. Some Ashkenazim have a custom not to say Shehyanu,
Live music.
Ba'ala Mahloret. So it depends on who you ask. There's a Siman in Shulchan Aruch that says, it's a Gemara, brings from the Gemara, it says that we're not allowed to listen to any music ever since the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash.
Music that led to dancing.
Any music, doesn't make a difference. Any music, only for what? Then there are people who actually follow this, even throughout the year they don't listen to music, and they only do it for Hatuna, and Simcha. That's it. That's the only time they do it, for a Simcha. But other than that, they won't listen. The rest of us, we say that, where the generations have become weaker. The stories of Bakidolim who also listen to music, and so it's become mutar. Why? Because the generation is weak and they need it, because if now they're going to get depressed, so on and so forth. So they go ahead and listen to music, whether it's recorded or whether it's live. And even when they do listen to music, the music that can be listened to is not anything that's on the radio. It's only music that has a shevach of Hashem, that it has praise of Hashem. All the other music is asur. It's also codified in Shulchan Aruch. All the other music is asur. Why is it asur any time of the year? And certainly not in weddings and things. Why? Because it talks about, to put it very cleanly, love between a man and a woman. But they put it in much grosser terms, and therefore it is 100% asur for a person to listen to these sorts of songs. All right. So in some Ashkenazim, they have a custom during this period not to say Shehyanu. Sephardim, we don't have such a custom, and it's completely mutar to buy new clothes to say Shehyanu if you want to go ahead and do so. If a person wants to be stringent, Sephardi wants to be stringent upon himself, what he can do is he can save the Shehyanu for Shabbat and say it then. But other than that, we don't have any Isra on saying Shehyanu. That's for the Sephardim. The Ashkenazim do have such a custom that we don't have. And what is the mourning for? What does it talk about in the Gemara Yevamot? It says that the 12,000 zugot, 12,000 pairs of students of Rabbi Akiva, they died during this time. That's what the Gemara talks about. 12,000 pairs. Where do we see the number 24,000 before? So the Arizal brings and says that the neshamot of these students actually was coming from where? From the neshamot of the 24,000 that died during the time of the sin in the desert. Which sin? Zimri ben Salu and Kozbi Batsur. Zimri ben Salu was the head of Shevet Shimon. He was the prince. He was a Nasi. And this is right after Bilam failed to curse the Jews 3 different times. He tried to curse them, he failed, he blessed them, and he came down and he told Balak that if you want to get to the Jews, there's one thing, Elokehem shel Elo sonez zima, that the God of the Jews hates licentiousness. Licentiousness meaning relations that are forbidden. So what should you do? Go ahead and set up tents on the day of the Shuk. And what's going to happen during the day of the Shuk? The people are going to come and they're going to want to buy goods. They come to buy goods, they go to a woman in front of the tent, the woman in the tent gives them an exorbitant price. They say, I'm not going to buy from you. They say, if you want it cheaper, there's somebody selling it in the tent, go over there. They go inside the tent, wow, there's a beautiful young woman over there, selling the goods for cheaper. So they say, listen, I want to buy some, I'm going to give it to you for free. Starts having a talk, and they drink wine, and she says, marry me. He says, listen, I'm sorry. He says, I want to marry you. My mistake. He says he wants to marry her. And she says, you want to marry me? You can't do this. I'm sorry, they were drinking wine together. That's another part. You can't just do this. You have to first do idol worship. He does the idol worship. He exposes himself to the peor, which means that he basically defecates on the idol. And that was the meaning to say that there's no limits. You can do anything. Once you do that, you can do anything. And that was their idol worship, and basically that's exactly hazing, right? That's what goes on in colleges. They do hazing, all sorts of disgusting things they do with regards to hazing. I don't know if anyone knows about it. What goes on in colleges, that's what hazing is. Basically saying there's no limits. You can do whatever, you have to do whatever we tell you to do. And they do this, and they go and get married to these girls. And so Zimri ben Salu, he sees that everybody's getting married to these non-Jewish women, and he says, I have to save them, I have to find some zechut for them. And he goes and marries one of the daughters as well. Who was it? Kozbi Batsur. Kozbi Batsur, she was coming actually from Moshe Rabbeinu. And the head of Shevet Shimon says, no, I'm just as good. I'm also, head of the tribe, so you can come and take me as well. And he went ahead and married her.
How did she come from Moshe?
She was told to come and only become the wife for Moshe. That's what she was given as directions. Why? Because they wanted to make the greatest of them sin. That was the goal. Yeah, that was the goal. So these 24,000 that died.
Pinchas, right?
I'm sorry. Yeah, this is the whole story of Pinchas, that he came and he killed them. We're not going to go into all the details, but we just want to get to the number 24,000. They went into the tents 2 at a time, and they sinned, meaning they married these non-Jewish women 2 at a time, pairs. That's why in the Gemara it says that 12,000 pairs of Talmidim. Those same Neshamot came back, 12,000 pairs. And what was their problem? What were they doing? It's brought in a book by Rabbi Yaakov Hillel, that talks extensively about Lag BaOmer, and he talks about this as well. He brings the Arizal over there that according to the Ari, they were Qanteranim. They hated each other deeply, and they wouldn't show each other kavod whatsoever, and for that reason, that's why they died. So the 24,000 died over there because they did Avodah Zarah, and they married non-Jewish women. They came back over here, and they still weren't able to perfect themselves, and they died. What's pshat in this? What's the understanding over here? There's another thing that Rav Hillel brings. He says that the time of the Omer is a time of din. It's a time of judgment. That's one of the reasons why we're not allowed to have Kabbalistic intentions. We mentioned it last week, because things that have to do with Kabbalah, just like at night, we're not allowed to. It's brought in Tomer Devorah. It's in chapter 8. You can see it over there where it discusses this idea that there are certain parts of the Torah that have to do with Hesed. Night has to do with Din. Therefore, we're not allowed to learn Chumash in the nighttime, or Zohar and things like that in the nighttime. Why? Because these side of Hesed, and you don't want to come and give it to the side of judgment. That's why you don't learn these things at nighttime. Somebody who doesn't know how to learn, and that's all they can learn, somebody who's being choser b'tshuva, it's fine, they can go ahead and learn it. But somebody who is able to learn something else, they should learn something else, which is from the oral Torah, which is Hoshech, which is from the side of Gevurah. They can go ahead and learn that. So, the time of the Sifrat Omer, the whole time of Sifirah, is a time of Din. That's why we're not allowed to have these Kabbalistic intentions, not that any of us does anyway, but even the small little 3-letter or names of Hashem that are written in the Sidurim, like Avodat Hashem and other things like that, we're not allowed to have kavanah on these as well. Any sort of shiluvim of Hashem's name we're not allowed to use. All right, so it was during the time of Sefirat Omer, which was the time of din, of judgment, and all of these neshamot of these students that came were coming from the time of judgment, and it says in the Gemara that they died from when? From the time of Pesach until Shavuot. Not like we heard that Lag BaOmer they stopped dying, or Lad BaOmer they stopped dying, but the Gemara says beferish they died for the whole period of the Omer. That's what the Gemara says. So for that reason, because they were from the side of din, they weren't able to matech the dinim, they weren't able to sweeten the judgments, they had to die. He goes into much more detail on it. I'm not going to go into the details of it, but just the idea for us is that there's an inyan during Sefirat Omer, ben adam lahaviro, that a person needs to figure out how to deal with his friends. He needs to make sure that he has good relations with his friends. Why? Because they messed up over there. This is the time that we need to be very careful. This is exactly what led to the death of the Arizal. That he told his students, he even warned them, he told them, make sure that you guys don't fight with one another. They fought with one another, and he said, the decree is sealed that I need to leave this world because you guys fought with one another, and that was that. The Arizal. Yeah. It's brought with regards to the Arizal, that was the reason that he was taken from this world, and the whole Torah that he had died. So one of the reasons we mourn is that these 24,000, they were on the level of being Tanaim. Yeah, they were able to revive the dead. We're talking about the students of Rabbi Akiva. We're not talking about some students. We're talking about they were on the level of time. Imagine if 24,000 of them were able to live. All the Torah that they learned from Rabbi Akiva, he was teaching them, from the Kitei Torah, all the little, tagim that's on the otiyot, he was teaching them tilei tilim shel halachot. He was teaching them all sorts of halachot. All of this Torah is gone, finished. All the Torah that we have today is from Rabbi Akiva, from 5 of his students that remained afterwards. That's it. That's all that remained. 24. Imagine what the world would have been if those 24,000 had survived. So the period of mourning is also for the fact that we lost these 24,000. And that's why some people who go according to the Ari, they don't shave until, they don't shave and they don't take a haircut until Shavuot. Erev Shavuot, that's when they take a haircut. They listen to music, but as far as that's concerned, they maintain that until Shavuot. So that's as far as that is concerned. And something else that needs to be told, they say that the beard is Hadrat Panim Zavan, that the beauty of the face is the beard, and according to Kabbalistic sources as well, the beard is Hasadim, it brings down mercy and loving kindness. Therefore, it's not a bad thing to have a beard. Good time to go on shidduchim. So
It itches though.
it itches. If you let it grow long enough, it doesn't itch anymore. All right. So we mentioned it's a time. There's another Torah. Okay. So I'm going to go through some of the kavanot. Just in the interest of time, we're going to cut out some of the things. We're going to go through some of the kavanot. Doing the count of the Omer. Like we mentioned, you can have some of these Kabbalistic intentions. Anybody who wants them, I have them and I can send them to you. When you say Baruch, you have kavanah for Yesod of Abba. Ata Hesed. Hashem Tiferet. Elokeinu Gevurah. Melech HaOlam Bina Asher Bina Qideshanu Tiferet B'mitzvotav Nesach V'hod V'tzivanu Yesod, and Al Sefirat Omer Malchut. And when you say Hayom, whatever name, whatever days of the Omer it is, you have kavanah for the Sefirah of that night, whether it's Hesed, the Gevurah, or whatever it is, you have the Sefirah, that kavanah when you say that as well. That's written in the Siddur. We can go ahead and follow that easily. Anybody who wants this, we can go ahead and give it to them later at a later point. So now, as we mentioned before, we go through all the 7 Sefirot, the 7 lower Sefirot during the Sefirat Omer. So what? Practically, what do I do with all this? Great, you told me Sefirot and Eser Sefirot and 7 Sefirot and separation, all this stuff. So what? What can I take out of this? So the first week, which is Hesed, a person needs to primarily work towards loving kindness. What does that mean practically? And I brought this from Tomer Devorah, which is Rav Moshe Cordovero, who is one of the teachers of the Arizal, and the Arizal took over his yeshiva when he passed away. The Ramak, Sefer Tomer Devorah. talks about this towards the end of the second half of his book. Goes as follows. He says, loving kindness means what? Primarily attending to the requirements of Hashem's service, and whatever time he has left over, leaving it for his work and everything else. Meaning, you make your learning of Torah and doing the Torah and mitzvot primary. Work, secondary. And whenever a person receives sufferings, he should know that this is coming from the Hesed, the loving kindness of Hashem, and this he should take as a token of Hashem's love. Gamzu Latova. And he should go after people who have an orla on their heart, and he should try to bring them back to do teshuvah, which is doing kiruv. He should give tzedakah, and he should welcome guests to his house. That's during the first week. When it comes to the second week, Gevurah. He should make sure not to incite the evil inclination, so as not to awaken the powers of Gevurot. So whatever he can do to stay away from the Yetzer Hara, he should be more stringent with that during the second week. The third week, Tiferet, Hesed, Gevurah, Tiferet. Tiferet means beauty, and this is found in what? In the study of the Torah. Then a person needs to be careful that when he argues in Torah, it has to be L'Shem Shemayim, not for the sake of me being right over the other person being wrong. As long as it's Lishma, that's fine. So a person should concentrate on learning Torah and making sure that he doesn't get into fights with an ego during that time with regards to Torah learning. Then we have Nesahod and Yesod. These are sort of all lumped together to help us. Then this is the 4th, 5th, and 6th weeks to support students of Torah, Talmidei Chachamim, and with money and their whatever needs they have, to be prepared to learn from all men. Mikol melamadai hiskalti, as David the Melech says, because the Torah cannot be studied unless from one teacher alone. Person needs to make sure that he goes to as many people as he possibly can to get all facets of Torah, Shivim Panim La Torah. And a man must be on guard against speech that brings to thoughts of sin. Yeah, speech. And then we have Malchut, which is the last week right before Shavuot. He should not be proud in his heart because he should have no Ge'ava. Even though he has some sort of a Malchut, he has some sort of a power in, I don't know, whatever it is, something good. Say he's wealthy, he's smart, has a lot of Torah, whatever it is, he shouldn't be mitpara in this. He shouldn't try to, have Ga'ava in this, and he should humble himself. So all of these we learn with regards to the Sephirah. So this is the takeaway. Hashem should help us that we should be able to follow all of these things that we learned tonight, to tap into the power of the Sephirah, and be able to accept the Torah completely cleansed of all sins. Amen. Can you hear it?
Amen.
Questions? We're good? All right. All right. Thank you guys for coming.
ונחל נובע מכל חוכמה, בלי אומה לא חי, בזכות רבי